A lot of people tell me that they want to be happy. A lot of people say, when I blank, then I'll. The formula, that's the formula right there. When I make this much money, when I'm driving this car, when I'm living in this house, when I have a girlfriend that loves me, when I'm promoted at my job, then I'll be happy. That's the formula that a lot of people tell me. And this is a very flawed mindset. There is a very, very small sliver of truth in it, right? If you're unable to eat, if you're unable to sleep properly, if you're unable to really survive, then this makes sense, right? When I have a roof over my head. I mean, that's not a bad statement, really, because otherwise you're just in straight survival mode and you're really in a sense of misery and a sense of panic all the time. Your adrenal glands are going nuts. You're not going to really be happy, but in a weird way, you're going to be numbed on your emotions. So that's not always a good thing, right? Then it makes sense. But for the 99% of people out there, when I get this house, when I get this car, that's such a really incorrect statement. And it's a very limiting mindset. A lot of people think that when they make a certain amount of money, they're going to be happy. They think that when they earn a certain level of lifestyle, listen to what I said, earn a certain level of lifestyle, they're going to be happy. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm going to tell you something. Anybody that wants to make a lot of money, if you want to make a lot of money right now, you've got to really decide that you want to make a lot of money. Because making a lot of money is really a great way to become very unhappy. It sounds crazy. Like a lot of you might be like, oh my God, that's just so wrong. That's politically incorrect. Yes, of course, it is politically incorrect, but this is the truth. More money, more problems. Have you heard that saying? The more money you're going to make, the more problems you're going to have to deal with, the more stress you're going to have in your life. And really, the people that make a lot of money are one thing. They're mentally tough. They're mentally disciplined. They can deal with a lot of bullshit. It doesn't mean that life gets easier. And I think that a lot of people get so surprised, like when they want to make more money, they start seeing like, man, I'm getting overworked. I'm getting stressed out. This is not what I thought it'd be. This is a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of betrayal. Like, man, get into business, man. Get into entrepreneurship. You're going to see people really stab you in the back, screw you over, not necessarily be so kind. You're going to see the real rough side of people when you get into entrepreneurship, real business. You'll see how much people care about money and how greedy people are. You're going to see that. It's a cutthroat world out there. And so a lot of people tell me like, oh, when I start making this kind of money, I'll be happy. Listen, bro, you try to go for that kind of money, you're just going to be unhappy by default. You're going to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with that stress. And I always say this is why a lot of women aren't in business. This is why a lot of women don't like getting into entrepreneurship. There's a lot of women that do entrepreneurship, but they're in certain sectors of entrepreneurship. They're not in cutthroat business, legislative mergers. Like a lot of women aren't just business moguls. They're typically an influencer. They're in some kind of business where they're selling a beauty product. They're in those fields, right? And they compete with other women. But when you get into real entrepreneurship, you're going to deal with a lot of problems. You're going to deal with a lot of stress, and it's going to be very, very difficult for you to be happy. I'm just keeping it real with you. And look, I don't need to be happy. So some of you might ask like, oh, you need to be happy. No, I don't need to be happy. I don't need it. I don't really care to be happy every single day. For me, I'm more focused on legacy. I'm more focused on purpose. And that is really probably the number one thing that brings me joy in life. So if you have a strong sense of, I have to do this, like I have a mission, I have a legacy that I want to leave behind. If you have a serious motive in life, it's not everybody. You don't have to have this. I'm not trying to talk negatively to you if you don't have this as well. If you have this, then entrepreneurship and business might make sense for you. But otherwise, if you're just trying to be happy, if you're trying to be content, if you're trying to live a good life, just don't focus on trying to make as much money as possible. Try to just be financially stable. You know who's happy? One of my partners said this to me today. Poor people are happy. And honestly, yeah. I wouldn't say people that are struggling and in survival mode. There's a difference here. People that don't necessarily have a lot because they appreciate a lot more things in life. When good things happen to them, they're very, very happy, and they don't deal with as much stress. They don't deal with as many problems. And this sounds crazy. This sounds very politically incorrect. I'm just going to keep it real with you. But the truth is, when you deal with more money, you're probably solving more problems out there in the world because people pay money to solve problems. And by proxy, you have more problems to deal with, which creates more stress, which makes you just naturally more unhappy unless you're mentally stable and mentally disciplined and mentally tough. Then you can combat it and really reach an equilibrium. But then you're always going to be pushing forward. So I just want to drive a message home. A lot of people say, when I'm making this money, when I'm living this lifestyle, you're not going to be happy then. You're always going to want more. That's the next part of this, right? You're always going to want more. It's never going to stop. I told myself, oh, when I make this amount of money, 2 years ago, I'll be happy. I'm making this amount of money right now. I'm not happy. I want more. This has gotten normal to me. And honestly, the more money that you make, the more you realize that you really don't have a lot of money, because there's some people in the world that have a lot of money. Now, you might say, oh, be grateful. That's not true. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I've never felt more broke in my life when I cleared over having a 7-figure business. When I had a 7-figure business, I realized that people are making 7 figures in an hour. People are making 7 figures on a yacht, signing a contract in 30 minutes. I'm like, man, all this work I put in to get here, all this effort and energy and sweat and tears and trauma I went through to get to this level, people are making what I'm making in a second. That makes no sense. That's crazy to me. It's not fair. I never felt more broke in my life when I started making money. When I started making money, I really knew how I was broke. Seriously. I remember when I was making like $200,000 a year, and that's a lot of money. That genuinely is a healthy amount of money. This is a very easy amount of money to live your lifestyle on. I thought I was the best. I thought I was like lit. I really, really thought I was that guy. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong. And my ego was bigger than it could have ever been. This is when I was very young. This is years ago. When I was like my second year in insurance, I was making that kind of money. And I realized, like, when I started making a lot more money, people really have money out here. There are some people that have scary amounts of money. And they've got systems and processes down, and it's honestly not crazy to get there. It takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of structuring, takes a little bit of hiring and finding the right people and outsourcing. You've got to really, if you want to make crazy amounts of money, you have to learn how to coach and develop people to do what you want them to do at a high level, to basically be you. You need to create replications of yourself, and you yourself needs to be a very functional person. So when you're functional, great. Then you can only do what you can do. And you're always going to want to do your own things by yourself because you do it the best. But then when you learn to outsource and train people to do what you do at a very high level, then you can start replicating and expanding out, and then you train them to train people on that level. Essentially, all it is replicating versions of yourselves in terms of functionality, in terms of effort. So the CEO's always got to be very functional in a lot of different areas. The CEO of a business typically isn't the biggest expert on every area. They're typically the jack of all trades, and they operate at a high functionality. They're able to make a lot of decisions. And there's a moment of transitions where you take different roles in the company, and you're able to call out different things, and you're more so in decision making, which really is a tricky process. You make split decisions that really judge the direction of the company. But ultimately, what I'll say is this: when you want to make money, you're going to encounter some level of stress. If you're not becoming mentally disciplined, you're going to probably wallow under that stress and become very unhappy. If you're able to handle it, you're always going to want more. When you always want more, it becomes a battle of you becoming more mentally disciplined versus the stress that you face. And there are moments where that stress just breaks you down. You gotta strengthen up a bit. And there's moments where you have small victories, and that dopamine stays for just a second. I swear to you, the depression periods that I've had in business are like months long. There's been months where I feel very sad. I wake up every day very sad. But that's okay, though. I have the discipline to keep moving forward. And for me, the emotions are not what I live my life off of. But I wake up sometimes for months very, 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 very sad. And then I have literally moments of happiness. But those moments are so worth it to me. Those moments of quick joy. Then I just go back straight into work mode. It's crazy. Some of you might say that's a very unhealthy way to live. Like, honestly, I'm probably happy 10 to 20% of the time. But really, throughout that other 80%, I'm dealing with a lot of negativity, a lot of nonsense, a lot of stress, a lot of, and people say this is a bad thing. Well, I maintain a rigorous schedule. I get my toxins out. I work out as much as I can. I drink a lot of water. I get good sleep. I try to stay as focused as possible to really allow my body to function at a high level in congruence with that heavy lifestyle. So hope you guys understand that, just making money ain't going to make you happy. It ain't going to be the cure for everything. And just understand at the end of the day, you need to really focus on becoming mentally tough, becoming mentally disciplined. You can feel emotions, you can get sad here and there, but mental discipline and mental toughness is really what's going to be the number one recipe for you to win in life. If you cannot develop it, and if you're just one of those people that does not want to develop it, be honest with yourself, then just walk away and just live a life that's very regulated, like very financially stable. You don't have to do too much. Being real with you right now. This is some advice that probably nobody's going to give you. Nobody's going to have really the balls to say this to you. But I'm telling you right now, sometimes you just got to understand what position you want to play. And it's not for everybody. Being an entrepreneur, being a businessman, being a multimillionaire is not for everybody. I'm being real, not in like a good, like a negative way. Sometimes you got to understand that you don't want that life. You don't want those problems. Sometimes you don't. Celebrities deal with a lot of problems. A lot of celebrities I know are very miserable people. A lot of people that make a lot of money are very, very miserable. I'm keeping it real with you. They do not have happy lives. So hope this makes sense. Hope this helped you. If this helped you out in any way, share it with somebody. definitely let me know that it helped you out on Instagram. Repost it. Leave a positive review. Means a lot to me. Can't talk today. Leave a positive review. Means a lot to me. And I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And I will see you in the next episode. Peace.